Hi guys, Jason Smith here, down at Bury Golf Range in Suffolk, and today we have the Ping G700 Iron. Brand new out, just released, or soon to be released, depending on what time this video goes out. Ping are producing this for what reason I don't know, because the G400 is a cracking iron, but this sort of takes chunk to a different level. If you want forgiveness, if you want confidence inspiring looks, real estate down by the ball, this thing is massive. Now Ping generally they don't shy away from making a decent size club. They're not well known for making like tiny little blades and etc, but this thing is huge. This is massively confidence inspiring. The construction of this is a hollow head design, which means it's going to have a very unique sound, and I've hit a few balls with this already and it does make a very unique sound. So I don't know if you'll be hearing from this. We're going to hit a few balls just out on the range so I can tell you how it feels and how it sounds. 17.4 body, stainless steel body. Now for the metallurgists out there, that will mean something. For the rest of you guys, that will mean absolutely nothing. But basically stainless steel body and a was it C300 miraging steel face. This face springs. This is as springy as a face I think as Ping has ever made, and it's finished off in this hydro pearl finish. So they say it's better ground interaction. Basically it's got hardly any kind of friction to it at all. It's very, very slippery, and it does glide along the floor lovely. Whether that will help you glide through wet rough, sticky rough, I don't know, you'll have to test. For me, when I've hit it on the grass, yes it does. It's got a little port in the side there, little screw, and people have taken the screw out and poked bits and pieces inside just to see if it is hollow, and it is very hollow. So it does make a distinct noise. Now the lofts on these things are strong. They're not necessarily what you call the weakest things on the planet, but then again, you're not expected to. These are game improvement irons. They're supposed to be distance irons. I think we need to start looking at the sector a little bit different. I think we need to start looking at a game improvement sector or a distance sector, because with some of the irons that are being produced nowadays, it's just distance driven and necessarily not, people are being sold on distance only, and that's not how it should be done. But anyway, the shaft I got on this is the NS Pro Modus 3 Tour 105 S Flex 7 iron, although at 29 odd degrees it's not a 7 iron. We're going to go hit a few now, just so I can hopefully you can hear the noise that this little wonder does make, because it is rather distinctive. Down by the ball, this thing is huge. It is massive. I'll be honest, I don't like it. I've never liked heads which are too big. Even like the Mizuno JPX EZ from a couple of years ago now, it was huge and it looked like a battering ram, and I'm not a great fan of. Does it put me off overly? No, it doesn't put me off. However, I've noticed when I'm using irons like this that it does make my strike suffer, because I'm not focusing my mind pure on strike. The one good thing is, because it's so big, yeah, you can afford to get away with a slight miss hit, and I'll explain after I've hit. So make sure, yep, got quad on the floor, yes I have, with the tablet running ready to receive shots, so I'll start recording them out. Let's give this one a hit so you can hopefully hear what this sounds like. I hope you heard that. That's like the loudest Ping crack ever. Well, we got 119 ball speed, 17.6 launch, 1.2 rate, slight fade, 7.4 or 7.5 spin, 32 yards up in the air, and 162 9 yards rate. For a range ball, that's quite long, so it'll be interesting to see when we get my Game Ball Vice Pro on the quad and see how far this 7 iron goes. Very distinct crack. It's like a hybrid. I don't know if the camera is picking it up properly, because to me that just sounds so cracky. Let's give it another go. Just like crack. Decent shot though, decent shot, not bad. 123 ball speed, 14.5 launch, 1.2 left, dead straight, 7,000 RPM, 30 yards in the air, 171. Oh my word, 3.5 left. That is a long 7. It's a very long 7. But you can hear the sound it makes. It feels powerful. It feels like it explodes off the face. It's a hard thing to describe when you've got that noise which just overpowers everything. It's probably one of the loudest irons I think I've ever hit. Give it another go. Oh, it's just comical. That noise is just crazy. 121 ball speed, 16.6 launch, 1 to the right with a little bit of cut, nearly 7.8 spin, 32 yards up in the air, 165 and 11 right, a little bit pushy. It's the noise. Do I like it? No, I'll be honest. But then again, this club is not for me. So it's not designed for an individual like myself. I do prefer the slightly smaller, stubbier looking blades and stuff like that, because yes, I'm lucky enough I hit the middle most of the time. So, but for you guys that's necessarily looking for a club which is going to help, give you a little bit more distance, height, noise, this is definitely one. Right, it's going to go one more and then we're going to go hit some properly on quad with my gaming ball to see how premium balls work. That's going. 121 ball speed, caught it slightly high in the face I felt. 17 launch, 1 to the right, tiny little cut, 7.2 spin, 33 yards up in the air, 167 and slightly off to the right. It's the noise. It's the only thing that puts me off is the noise. It's so loud and so distinct in your mind, it's hard to actually feel what the club feels like, because it's just overpowers by the crack that you hear. Right, let's go hit some balls with my game ball and on quad to see how premium ball works, to see if, one of them like 171 carry with a range ball, how far are these 7 irons gonna go? Let's go check out. Okay, it's time to see how the G700 Iron, 7 iron that I hit on GC Quad with my Game Ball Vice Pro, to see how in closed conditions how this thing actually works. Now I've hit about 15 or so, I'm not going to count them all, but it's about that many. One good thing about going Apple is the fact that I can get more shots on the screen, so bigger data set you've got, there's more chance to see how the club's going to react. Let's do ball data first. 7 iron, got to keep this in your head, 7 iron. 122 ball speed, very healthy free. 7 iron, 18.6 launch, 0.3 left, started with a fraction of a little bit of cut spin. I'll get onto the cut spin in a little bit. 4.7 spin, 4.714 on average. Now it's a 7 iron spinning at 4.7. That is not a 7 iron spin. That's more like a old school 5 iron spin profile. So very low spinning. Peak height though, on average is 35. Now, that in itself is extremely healthy for something which, okay, it's cranked, it's 29.5 degrees, so it is a 7 on the bottom, but it's definitely not, when it comes to loft-wise, what would be traditionally known as a 7 iron. Yeah, it's still going 35 on average yards up in the air. Now that goes up to 38, but then down to 32 when I don't quite catch it. On average 35 for a club like this is very healthy, and I'll take it all day long. The thing is that it's carrying at 180. Now carrying at 180 yards for a 7 iron is long, to say the least. On average 1.3 yards right with 47 degree descent angle, it's going to stop. Even though with 4.7 spin, which is not a lot, this thing is going to be going into a green at 180 yards, but it's going to be physically stopping through descent angle alone, not spin. Now, go with club data. On average 94. Going up to 95 and then down to 92. 3 miles an hour in it. I'm a human being, remember, so down 4.7, so I'm hitting consistently down. My average club path, now you guys should know by now I'm very neutral when it comes to my irons. My average club path was 0.5, and you can see the data set there. I move around a little bit from here and like a little bit here, a little bit there, but basically I'm 0.5 to the left, so I'm not even a degree out to in. It's just so neutral. On another day I might be 0.5 to the right, and yeah. But my face to path, now this is the interesting, remember my face to path is 0, absolutely 0, 0.0. So with a path that's going half a degree left and a face to path of 0, take strike as a 0 as well. Everything should be fractionally left of target. But remember, when it comes to the ball data, that even though my ball started on average 0.3 of a degree left of target, it had 121 RPM of cut spin, fade spin. Why was it fading? Because of the lie. Look at the club lie, minus 3.3. So I'm an upright player. I'm about 3 degrees upright, depending on what manufacturer I'm using. So when it comes to doing tests like this, I'm expecting the ball to slightly want to fade, because even though my face is looking in the right direction, my loft is pointing fractionally right because of lie angle, toe down. Club loft is 22.2 degrees of dynamic loft, and then 3 mil toe, 0 mil center. So it's not exactly what I would say. I was smacking it right off the toe or right off the heel, or really high, really low. You can see all my strikes there. I do vary. Remember, I'm a human being, so I'm not going to hit absolutely 0 all the time. If you go by the strike screens, you can just see that all the strikes like completely mashed together. I'm grouping them quite nicely, but you can see I wander on the odd occasion. I do move around a little bit because, again, I'm a human being. My biggest issue when it comes to this iron is it's massive, and I'm okay. This is not designed for me, so I'm giving you my opinion on something which I'm looking, when I'm buying an iron, I'm looking at something a little bit different than what the G700 iron gives me, but it's very big, so it's confidence inspiring. If you want something, if you're a beginner and you want something you know full well that you can basically just put it down by the ball and be confident you're going to make contact with it, that in itself, you're definitely going to make contact with this thing. It is very heavy on its lines, yes it is. It's very loud, it's hybrid-like in its loudness. People on the golf course are definitely going to be knowing you're hitting a G700 iron, because I thought the G400 was a bit loud, or even like the G Max from 2016 or so. This takes it to a whole new level. It is probably the loudest iron I've ever hit, and the largest one as well. Feel wise, I don't get no feel from it whatsoever, because it is just so loud. It's kind of one of those things that you feel quite easy. You could just close your eyes and swing the golf club and just hit it, and you know it's going to go the distance. And if you look at the distances, on average that's going 180, but I'm going up to 182 down to 176. I mean, that as a data set, it is such a consistent club. Now, I may not like the looks of it, I may not like the sound of it, but one thing I cannot get around is just how consistent it is, considering I'm not hitting absolute middle, and I do vary in my strike, I do vary in my club head speed slightly, I do vary in my path and bits and pieces, but this is just crazy consistent when it comes to just physical hitting it. Now, could I play it? No, I couldn't. I just don't like the look of it and don't like the sound of it. If I could get round that, I could not argue at all with, I mean, they're straight as well. I think the worst one I hit there was 11 left. The rest of them are very good. So my conclusion would be, yes, they are beginners clubs because they're massive, they're very high crank lofted things, as in like low lofted, you know, cranked to crazy amounts. And they've also got a power spec that you could also, if you wanted to, crank them even more. Would you? I don't know. I can't understand a reason why you'd really want to, but I can understand necessarily why someone would go to this in a longer iron, because this 7 iron's going 180, which is within reason, very, very close to my old school 5 iron. Yet my old school 5 iron doesn't go as high, but spins the same amount. So I can understand why someone would swap out something like their old school bladed 5 iron for this 7 iron G700. Okay, the numbers wouldn't go at all well, because obviously you'd be going 6, like pitching wedge to 6, then rather than going 5, it'd go 7, and yeah, it wouldn't work in that sense. But through pure performance, pure functionality, it's a very, very good club. But you'd have to go test yourself, because my danger, my problem with this club would be, because I've got speed. Someone who hasn't got speed is going to be a situation very quickly of what club do they go to before they're going to need to start using hybrids, because you can just crank a club and crank a club and crank a club, but you can get it to a point of where you still need speed to keep it going up in the air. And if it doesn't, you're not just going to get any extra carry, it's going to hit the ground sooner, and you're going to be in a situation where you're going to be no-win scenario. So very important to get tested, get custom fit, get someone who's got something like GC Quad. You can measure all your strikes and everything else like that, so you can basically tell when you do need to chop in the idea of having a 6 iron or a 7 iron, then go to hybrids to make it functional. But yeah, great iron, just not quite for me, not my looks, but definitely one for you to test. So I hope you liked the video. If you did, click that like button below. Also, by the side of me somewhere, I'll put a subscribe button. If you could click on that, that will do me a great favour, because that more subscribers I get, more chance of getting this kind of equipment, do the tests, and yeah, showing you guys how it performs. See you again.